Welcome back to the most unprofessional sports channel on YouTube. Welcome back to Swivel Chair Sports. I'm your host, Zach Circlework Burkle, here with the host today, Aaron, and a returning Joe. Welcome back, Joe. Go ahead and say hi, guys.
Hi.
All right, in this video, we'll be doing another division prediction. This time, we'll be taking a look at the AFC North, consisting of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens, Cleveland Browns, and Cincinnati Bengals. We'll be taking a look at each team's schedule in the AFC North and give you our record predictions.
And if you like our content, be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment. Let us know what you think.
Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it and take a look at our first team in the AFC North. First, we'll take a look at the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, last year, the Baltimore Ravens ended up coming out of the regular season as the #1 seed in the AFC, which gave them a bye in the first round. Ended up knocking off the Texans, a really young Texans team in the second round, and had the pleasure of playing Kansas City in the AFC Championship game, where they just fell up short because they didn't feel like running the ball, which is what got them there in the first place, and they completely abandoned that. But I digress. This year, Baltimore brought in Derrick Henry to hopefully, maybe they'll hand the ball off to him this time when they face the Chiefs in the playoffs. But on top of that, they also, lost Patrick Queen, lost Geno Stone. So a couple losses on the defensive side that could come back to haunt them. They still have Roquan Smith, so I'm sure they'll be fine. That defense is still going to be top 5 in the league, at least top 10. But they're looking, going into this season, the division looks like it's going to be a little bit tougher. Joe Burrow is going to be back with the Bengals. Hopefully the Steelers figured out their quarterback situation. And then Browns added a little bit of depth at wide receiver. Maybe Deshaun Watson decides to turn back the clock for 1 year. So looking to be a little bit more challenging for the Ravens this time around. Lamar Jackson coming off his second MVP last year as well. I've got them starting off the season on fire. 4-0, beating teams like Kansas City, Dallas, and Buffalo in those first 4 weeks, though. Also pick up a pretty easy win against Vegas, I'd imagine, in week 2. But those other 3 games are going to be against really tough opponents, looking to, make it back to the playoffs for like the umpteenth year in a row, all 3 of them. But I got them coming out on top all 3 times. Rematch with the Chiefs. I think there may be a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover in week 1 for Kansas City. This will only be the second time in Mahomes' career I have him, in my world at least, where he's lost week 1 of the NFL season. But I think Baltimore, with that additional wrinkle of Derrick Henry on the offensive side of the football, and Andy Reid's notable track record of not showing too much early in the season especially, I could see Baltimore sneaking out a win in week 1, and then Dallas, I just think they're better than Buffalo. I think it's going to be struggling early. You got Cincinnati right after that. I think that's where you pick up your first loss. First time playing an in-division opponent, so that's going to be tough on the road as well. Joe Burrow is going to be in his 5th game back, presumptively. So I think he's going to be starting the season off uncharacteristically hot. I know the Bengals don't typically get off to hot starts, but I think in this case, with them playing host to y'all, Cincinnati should be able to win that one. But then I got you winning 2 more against Washington and Tampa Bay. Again, I just think you're going to be better than those teams, so you should come away with those 2 wins. And then losing your 2nd straight division matchup, again on the road, so that's kind of what I'm looking at here. I think pretty much all of the AFC North is going to end up splitting with each other in the division this year, assuming they all play up to their level of potential. So I've got you losing at home, losing on the road, winning at home against basically everyone in your division. But I got you beating Denver, and then rematch with Cincinnati at home this time. I got you winning that one. Losing on the road to Pittsburgh, beating the Chargers on the road. And then you got a tough game with Philadelphia before the bye week. I think you guys are going to be looking ahead to that bye week a little bit against a really tough opponent in Philadelphia. Maybe looking to, get off your feet. Week 14, pretty late bye. So I think you lose a tough matchup against Philly there. But then win 3 out of your last 4 to wrap up the season, beating the Giants, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. Losing a tough one on a weird Wednesday night, Christmas night, Christmas Eve, I guess, or Christmas evening, against the Houston Texans on the road. So I think you guys may come out a little bit sluggish against that team, having, traveled on Christmas Eve probably, so that kind of sucks. But yeah, all in all, I got y'all finishing the season 12-5, which should still be good enough for obviously a home playoff game in the first round. And then I do have, I believe, the Texans finishing at the 1 seed above you guys, but still right up there amongst the top of the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially the same team as it was last year. You know, bit of a revamped running back room, but they're still going to be lethal in that run game. Still going to have a really good defense, and I agree with you. They're going to be probably one of the better teams, not just in the AFC but in the NFL.
Yeah.
I've got them kind of around that 12-win mark, and I think this should be a fun sort of run for them to go on to kind of show that last year A, wasn't fluke, and that B, they can do it in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they're one of the top of the division. I don't see them finishing third or fourth, barring any major injuries. One thing about Baltimore is we know they're putting out a quality team. That defense will keep them in games, even if their offense is, starting off the season slow and whatnot. But I mean, you still have Lamar Jackson. You still have when you have a guy like that leading your team, as you guys know with the Chiefs, like it just gives you a chance and that kind of thing. So it's a tough division, but I can see the Ravens being the Ravens and not really, falling back too much at all.
Yeah, I mean, like you guys said, basically the same team coming back, plus a probably upgrade in the running back department. Defense, I could see maybe being a little bit worse with the loss of Patrick Queen, Geno Stone, but I mean, you still got Marlon Humphrey, you still got Kyle Hamilton, you still got Roquan Smith. That's still a really, really dangerous defense, so it's still going to be right up there amongst the tops in the league. I really think their only competition, well, I mean, the whole division's competition, don't get me wrong, but I think Cincinnati's their biggest competition with Joe Burrow coming back. I mean, Joe Burrow just, gives Cincinnati that different edge, but I mean, we'll get into them next. But yeah, I think Baltimore should be able to essentially repeat what they did last year and maybe even come out as a 1 seed for the second straight year. And Lamar may even be in conversations for MVP again with the addition of Derrick Henry.
The big thing for them is going to be that they're replacing 3 O-linemen this year.
Yeah, that does.
So, that wouldn't shock me if they get off to a slow start just while those guys are trying to mesh. But again, if there's a guy to have a not too great old line, it's Lamar Jackson. He's gonna figure out a way to make dudes miss, that's for sure.
Yeah, and then Derrick Henry will just run him over. So
can't believe Derrick Henry's there still. It's ridiculous, man. Fits AFC North football though. I will give him that. He fits it perfectly.
Yeah. Next we got the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously last year ended a little abruptly for the Bengals when Joe Burrow went down with injury. However, backup quarterback Jake Browning stepped in and gave the Bengals a chance to make the playoffs. They were right in it, right down to the last couple weeks of the season. But obviously, Joe Burrow coming back is going to, completely change the dynamic of that team. The T. Higgins situation seems to have been dealt with for now. I think he said that he's just going to play out the year and just see what happens. Jamar Chase, I know, has kind of had some rumblings of contract dispute, but I'm sure he'll be fine. Unfortunate to lose Tyler Boyd, but I think they'll be, perfectly fine without him. Lose Joe Mixon too, so that kind of stinks, but you bring in Zach Moss to replace him. Did bring in tight end, upgrade in my opinion, Mike Gesicki, over from New England, so I think that'll be a huge upgrade in a, position that they've been lacking in really since Tyler Eifert left, I think. So it'll be interesting to see how that offense, picks up. See if it picks up where it left off when Joe Burrow went down last season. The defense obviously being a little bit more of a question mark. Losing a couple key pieces this offseason. I believe Chidobe Awuzie and DJ Reader both left this offseason for other teams. So that's tough. You lose probably your best cornerback and then probably your best D lineman. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Trey Hendrickson and the rest of that defense can pick up those guys' slack. I got them starting off the year mean, I guess wrong team. Okay, yeah, I've got them starting off very, very uncharacteristically hot. Obviously, since Joe Burrow's taken over, the Bengals are known for kind of starting the season off slow and then picking it up and storming back late in the year after they get a little hot. But I've got them starting the season off this time around 5-1. Only game that they drop is at Kansas City, which is weird because Joe Burrow typically beats Mahomes in the regular season, and I believe this is the only playoff team I have the Chiefs actually beating in the regular season this year. So, but I do think Kansas City maybe has a little bit extra to prove after dropping Week 1 to Baltimore, again in my universe. So I've got them being the only team you struggle with in those first 5 weeks, first 6 weeks. Yeah, you should be able to come away with that Baltimore win because you're on the at home. I think that'll give you a little bit of an advantage there. And then the rest is just kind of fodder for you guys to beat up on the Patriots, Commanders, Panthers, and Giants before you go into Cleveland in Week 7, where I think you dropped that one, your first division loss of the season. Again, I've got every AFC North team splitting the season series with the other AFC North teams. So you're going to win all your home games. You're going to lose all your road games in division. However, this time around, I believe I have you dropping 2 straight because you face Philadelphia right after facing Cleveland. So that's kind of tough back-to-back. A really good defense in Cleveland that just probably beat you up. And then a really good just team overall, offense and defense in Philadelphia comes to town. And it's not a super far drive for them coming from Pennsylvania. Then you got Vegas, who I think you can get a win back right there, try to get right. Then you go into Baltimore and probably drop that one before being able to beat up on the Chargers on the road. And then head into your bye, pretty solid 7-4 record, so not too bad. Looking like you should be able to skate into the playoffs, at least as a wild card team, if not win the division, battling right there with the Baltimore Ravens. But I got you coming out the bye a little slow, losing to Pittsburgh at home. Again, you probably should get that win back later on. You may win this one at home, lose the one on the road, but in Bengals fashion, I've got you heating up very late in the year and going to the playoffs hot. So I've got you winning those last 5 games. Similar to what you usually do in Cincinnati, going to the playoffs on fire, finish the season 12-5 and just miss out on the 2 seed with the Baltimore Ravens edging you out for the division due to tiebreaker. So,
this division is always fun to watch. Joe Burrow actually coming in with a full training camp, not injured. That'll be a fun test to see how they actually do start the season this year. I've got them around the 12-win range as well.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows last year was kind of just a wash for them. I mean, no Joe Burrow, it's kind of really hard to even gauge how well or how bad that team could have actually been. All Joe Burrow has really done is win since he's in there. I mean, he's really turned the team around. Only thing I'll put out is Jamar Chase is still on a hold-in. I don't think that'll affect anything on the field, especially considering him and Joe Burrow's connection. I'm just curious to see how long he's willing to hold out. Will it go into season or not? I guess that's kind of the big question mark. But I mean, outside of that, I think their weakness honestly might be their defense. It'll be interesting to see. That defense is going to definitely, like you made a point, Burke, they're going to have to pick up some of the slack. And it's just going to be interesting to see, can they actually do that in a tough division like this?
Yeah, I mean, they've clearly got the worst defense in the division. I mean, the other 3 have got arguably top 5 defenses right there in the league, which is insane to say in one division. But they're gonna get tested in their own division like they usually do. They've got, despite missing the playoffs last year, they've still got some tough out-of-division opponents in Kansas City and Dallas, Philadelphia as well. So it's not going to be...
Their strength of schedule is really low compared to the rest of the division. The other 3 teams in the division, I think, are all in the top 6 or 7 for hardest schedules. And I'm pretty sure Cincy's in the bottom 7.
Yeah, well...
some easier schedules. But nonetheless, like you said, considering 6 of those games are in that division, who knows what the heck happens.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously with them missing the playoffs last year, the other 3 making it, that's a big reason their strength of schedule is going to be a little weaker. it helps that they get the Giants, Carolina, Washington, New England in the first 6 weeks of the season. So
I think that's what drags it down.
crazy.
It's how
Yeah.
bad those teams were
Yeah.
and why they're going up.
Now, Bengals should be able to make the playoffs if Burrow stays healthy and that defense, doesn't suck. They just got to be top 20, I think, and they'll be fine. Next, we got the Cleveland Browns. Browns last season were really good at just about every position outside of the quarterback one. Although their starting quarterback at the end of the year did win Comeback Player of the Year, so something to be said about that. But Defensive Player of the Year on the other side, Myles Garrett, as well as a great running game, in the backfield behind him. So that's kind of what the Browns' bread and butter is right now. Defense, running the football, even with Deshaun Watson. He wasn't exactly putting up gaudy numbers last year and hasn't since he signed in Cleveland or got traded and then signed an extension in Cleveland. So I don't expect a whole lot unless Deshaun really turns back the clock. I think he's kind of toast. It's been 3-4 years now of the same shit. So I think I'm a little bit sick of holding out hope for that. I think Cleveland Browns gonna rely on that defense, and it should get them to a winning record, but that's about all I can say for them. I do have them starting off the season a little slow, losing to Dallas and Jacksonville, starting off 0-2. But those are a couple tough teams that you're gonna have to play out the gates. Dallas hypothetically should be good. Of course, with their contract situations, maybe they have 2-3 guys even hold out. Week 1, I don't know. You got Jacksonville on the road, so I think that's just going to be tough in general. Jacksonville's got a lot to prove this year, Trevor Lawrence specifically, and they've kind of brought in a lot of young, interesting weapons on that offensive side of the football, like Brian Thomas Jr. So I think that'll be a tough game to win. But then after that, I got you winning 3 straight, getting back above 500, beating 3 really easy teams, granted, in the Giants, Raiders, and Commanders. I think those Raiders, are going to be decent this year, but the other 2, I think, are going to be terrible. So, should be able to pick up at least 2, if not all 3 of those games. Then I got you losing a tough one at Philadelphia. I don't think you guys are going to be too upset if you lose that one. I'm sure you'd love to win it, but on the road against one of the best teams in the league, probably. So, I don't think, that's too disappointing to lose to, especially if it's a close game, to lose to Philadelphia. Because right after that, I've got you picking up 3 straight wins before the bye, 2 of them being in division against probably the 2 best teams in the division, Cincinnati, Baltimore. So I got you going into the bye, a nice little 6-3 record. And then coming out that and win your first game too, because on the road against New Orleans, who I don't think is going to be great. So proven to 7-3, heading into Pittsburgh, or hosting Pittsburgh. Short week. Pittsburgh's got a really, really good defense. Maybe Justin Fields is starting by now. That'd be kind of cool. And he's, sparks something for Pittsburgh. Or maybe Russell Wilson has a really, really good season with Pittsburgh. Either way, I've got that being a pretty tough game that you just can't come out with. And then winning 2 straight after that. At Denver should be fairly easy. At Pittsburgh, you're probably going to split with Pittsburgh one way or the other. I just have you losing the short week 1. And then after that, tough way to finish the year. Kansas City at Cincy, Miami at Baltimore. So I got you finish off the year 0-4 in that stretch. And just missing out of the playoffs because of that tough skid there at the end of the season. Finishing 9-8. And really, if you win 2 of those games in those last 4 weeks, you probably make the playoffs. But I just think that's going to be too tough of a stretch for you.
Yeah, this is, they did make some improvements, especially in that receiver room. They're on the offensive side of the ball, but this, again, feels like largely the same team. I feel like they're going to get carried, obviously, by their defense again, and maybe we see Deshaun Watson become a slightly above average quarterback. With those improvements that they got at receiver, but this feels like a weird team to try and decipher this off season. So I do have them around that 10-11 win mark, just because that run game is so good. and it can be, you know, strangling when you've got a good run game and a good defense paired together. So, um, I've got them probably in the hunt for, you know, another wild card position, but this will be a weird team to watch this year, I think.
I could really see the Browns being similar to the Jets last year, in the sense that you have a defense that keeps you in games. I think they're better offensively than the Jets were, obviously without Aaron Rodgers for sure. That defense alone can scrape out 8 wins. It seems like just by themselves, the way they play. So, I'm with you, Burke. I think Deshaun. It might be the past might be the past now. But nonetheless, everything you guys said, that run game, they get it done. They kill clock, and you're not scoring every drive on that defense, which no one really does. It kind of seems like they're gonna squeak out at least a few close games. So, yeah. As a Steelers fan, this is tough. I don't like this. I'm banking on the Browns being the Browns, though. When it comes down to clutch time and they need something to happen, it ain't gonna happen. They're gonna lose it.
That's kind of what I'm saying, you know? You head into week 15, probably, what would that be? 9-4? We'll head into week 15, 9-4, and then you just choke it away. That's kind of what I see happening.
That's not a fun stretch to end the season
No.
either, at all for them. Like, that late in the year, guys are banged up, maybe hoping no injuries happen, but like, if there's any injuries specifically on that defense, that could be a very tough way to end out the year.
Especially, I mean, I could maybe see them getting that Miami game because it is at home. Miami typically sucks in cold weather, so them playing in Cleveland probably not going to be fun for them. But I mean, you got Kansas City who can play anywhere, Cincinnati on the road, Baltimore on the road. I just don't see those three going well for them. I think a lot of it hinges on Nick Chubb. Is he going to be back? Is he going to be normal? Is he going to be the same? Like, because that was a pretty devastating injury he suffered last year, and in my opinion, another, yeah. And
again.
I feel like all it's going to really take is him not being the same for this team to kind of start falling apart, because they depend so much on that run game with Deshaun Watson not being what he used to be. So it'll be interesting to see.
I will say one thing: the end of the year, it might not be as bad if Cincy and Baltimore are playing at the level that we're kind of expecting them to be.
That's a good point. Baltimore
they could be getting Baltimore's backup.
Yeah.
They could be getting Cincy, where they're playing, but they might be kind of in a solid spot to make the playoffs. They might not go too crazy, like be their benefit.
Right.
But that's asking a lot still.
Man, they got 2 Thursday night games against 2 division opponents in a 5-week span. That's rough. That's brutal. Especially because that's gonna be.
They're gonna need Nick Chubb for that second half of the year. I don't know if I don't think he's gonna be ready to start the year, at least from what it sounds like. But I feel like if they can win those early season games that they should win, that'll hopefully comfort them in getting him back healthy. Because if they rush him back, that doesn't seem like a good of an idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree.
They don't need to, because Jerome Ford looked good last season.
He was nice last year. Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to worry about it too much when you have a top 5-6 O line. The Browns O line gets it done, which is why it's astonishing to see Deshaun be that bad with a line that good.
And a receiver like Amari Cooper who can get open against anybody. And finally, we're wrapping it up with the favorite team in the division as far as this podcast is concerned. Pittsburgh Steelers. Last year, the Steelers were able to sneak into the playoffs as a 7th seed when I'm sure all fans were saying, please don't, please no. Why? Why are we doing this? Can we please just tank a little bit and get a decent draft pick? But against all odds, with one of the worst point differentials in the NFL, the Steelers found a way to make the playoffs. And then this offseason, Mike Tomlin still has yet to have a losing season, which is just incredible. But this offseason, they look to hopefully change the identity of that offense, traded away longtime receiver Deontay Johnson down to Carolina. Got rid of both quarterbacks, Mason Rudolph down to Tennessee and Kenny Pickett down to over across the state to Philadelphia. Brought in 2 new quarterbacks, and Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, who, if you combine their stats from last year, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So, yeah. But no, I think Russell Wilson or Justin Fields obviously going to be a major improvement from the quarterback play that they had last year. Hopefully, that means George Pickens can actually get a few balls thrown his way and start living up to his potential, because I think he's been kind of hampered by poor quarterback play to start his young career. We've seen a lot of flashes of him. I think that running back room's obviously going to pick up kind of where it left off. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, who I think just got hurt last weekend in the preseason game, so that kind of sucks. Hopefully he comes back and he's okay. But one of the better running back duos in the league, in my opinion. And once again, I got them, hovering right around that 500 mark. Starting the season off, though, on fire. Starting 4-0, beating teams Atlanta, Denver, Chargers, Indianapolis, and what's going to be Anthony Richardson, like 6th start in his career or something like that. So, pretty soft schedule to coming out the gates for Pittsburgh. Atlanta, first week with Kirk Cousins. I could see y'all losing that one, but I think Kirk's going to need a little bit of time to adjust. And then, those 2 AFC West teams are garbage. So, after that, though, tough game. Hosting Dallas. I think you guys could win that one on Sunday Night Football with Carrie Underwood, singing the intro, though. I think the football gods are just going to be on their side, unfortunately. So I got you losing that one. And then traveling to Vegas, where you should be able to pick up a pretty easy win before dropping another tough one at home. Sunday Night Football once again. I guess Russell Wilson just can't play in prime time in my universe, but dropping one to the Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, as I think Aaron Rodgers, and assuming he stays healthy, should bring that team to prominence this year, hopefully, assuming they can figure out all the drama shit that's going on in the background. But I do have you picking up a win against the other New Jersey team right before the bye, beating the Giants. Another primetime game, so your first primetime win of the season on Monday Night Football. And then coming out of the bye, you get a pretty easy game against Washington that you should be able to pick up. Then I got you going 3 for 3 in those 3 interdivision games. Those first 3 interdivision games you have, beating Baltimore at home and traveling to Cleveland on a short week. But I think you're going to be riding high on that momentum from knocking off Baltimore. And then once again, traveling to Cincinnati, but you get a long rest there, going from Thursday night to Sunday night, so I think that extra rest is going to benefit you guys. You're going to be able to go into Cincinnati and pick that win up as well. And then you got 7 stages of hell to walk through after that. Because you got, after those 3 division games, you got another division game in Cleveland, so you played them in 2 out of 3 weeks. And Philadelphia on the road, Baltimore on the road, Kansas City, Cincinnati again. I think you're probably going to drop at least most of those. If not, I've got you dropping all 5, which is going to be a tough way to end the season. But I do have you finishing 10-7. So before those 5 losses, you were 10-2, and then just went. Honestly, if you're 10-2 after that first Cincinnati game, I think that's credit in itself. But yeah, I just think eventually those games are going to catch up to you guys at the end of the season, and then maybe some injuries pile up or something like that. I don't know. But y'all play really, really hard-nosed football, so you don't shy away from contact. Anything's possible.
Yeah, obviously the Steelers have a good defense. But I have no faith in that receiver room other than George Pickens. I'm really worried about the depth there. And I think it's going to be tough for them to win games if they know that your bread and butter is running the ball and you don't really have an option other than Pickens and Freiermuth. So I've got them hovering around that 7 to 8 win mark. We saw kind of what happened with Justin Fields when he didn't have a lot of weapons there in Chicago, and Russell Wilson isn't the same player that he used to be. He doesn't have all those weapons that he had in Seattle when you just buy time and dance around back there and then somebody would get open. So I think this could be definitely not as ugly as it's been on the offensive side, but I think it could kind of suck.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. What am I gonna say? We played.
Talk your
with
team
our
up. Come on.
division, but we're playing 6 out of our last 8 are in division, and it was some moron's bright idea to pick the other 2 games to be the defending back-to-back Super Bowl champs in the fucking Philadelphia Eagles. Like, why? I would have really liked to, maybe mix the Giants, flip them in Kansas City instead to end the year, but I mean, my big concern, you guys talk about the quarterbacks, you bring up the receiver. My biggest question is our offensive line. Our offensive line has not been what it used to be. Obviously, it's been past Big Ben and everything, but I'm big on everything starts up front. With a bad offensive line, I don't know if we could put anybody back there and then make us win a couple extra games. If we can protect the quarterback, then we can put all the blame on them, but Justin Fields and Russell Wilson very, very likely could be, dropping back 20 times, running 10 of them, and just having to run for their lives and make something happen. I think we're hoping to let Russ cook, and that might be him running to the sideline and hopefully throwing up a few prayers. But until we figure out that O-line, I mean, now that we're finally doing this video, we have we're officially starting a rookie at center. Zach Frazier, Troy Fatanu got hurt in the last preseason game. We have Roderick Jones, who I'm hoping pans out, but looked awful the last game. I don't know, guys. There's too many question marks, and usually we're a second half team. We've been having to usually fight and claw our way to get back into the playoffs, just because we always want a number 17 pick or something. We don't like to draft much higher than that. And so, I mean, we need a lot to go right for us even to win those close games. Like, I can't even say I'm confident that we walk into the first half of the season, like Burke brought up, and win those. Are we expected to? Yes. Should we? On paper, theoretically, yes. Who knows what offense decides to walk out onto that field? I mean, I don't know. There's so many question marks. Yes, I'm confident in Mike Tomlin and figuring it out. I'm confident our defense shows up, but you can't win a game when you can't score any points. Our defense, you saw our point. We had negative point differential last year. We gave up more points than we scored and somehow ended up with 10 wins. It's just hard to believe we're going to keep doing that year in and year out for the past 3 years. So, yeah, that was my best hopeful Steelers take that I could give. Hope Russell Wilson starts the year. Let Justin Fields kind of ease into it. Don't kill his confidence. And don't kill him, putting him behind that old line till we figure out something stable first.
Yeah, I mean, I'm rooting for y'all for sure. Just because I like Mike Tomlin.
If anyone can do it, if anyone can freaking do it, it's us. I'll be honest about that. If anyone's going to sneak that in, it's going to be Mike Tomlin-led Steelers.
No, I agree. I love Mike Tomlin. Obviously one of the best head coaches in the league. So, like you said, if anybody can do it, he can do it. And I think, God, that just back into the schedule is so brutal. That is just so brutal.
It would not be the most abysmal thing to say. They go 0-8 to end the year.
No, it would not. That would not be crazy.
The craziest thing to say.
That would not be insane.
It's hard to believe we would because our defense proved they can squeak out a few. But I mean, that's brutal.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. 0-8 is not insane prediction. I feel like so. But here we have our final predictions for the AFC North. Obviously, we all think that the Ravens and the Bengals are going to be right up there amongst the top of the division once again, as they have been outside of last year because Joe Burrow's injured. When Joe Burrow is healthy and Lamar Jackson is healthy, when they are both healthy, because they both have injury issues, they are both regularly amongst the top of the division. on a consistent basis. So once again, we kind of think that's going to happen, assuming they both stay healthy. We think Pittsburgh could be, and Cleveland for that matter. We think all these teams are going to be great. We think all these teams are going to be pretty good. Defense kind of, dictates this division. So I think they're going to beat the shit out of each other. And it's going to be some fun football to watch. Some real hard-nosed football. We're going to see some fireworks with, obviously, the Ravens having Lamar and Derrick Henry. The Bengals having Joe Burrow. And, the Steelers and Browns having Myles Garrett and TJ Watt. So we're going to see some really fun football in this division as we usually do. But unless y'all got anything else for the AFC North.
Oh, Steelers, figure it out.
I think that'll do it for this episode. The most unprofessional sports channel on YouTube, Swivel Chair Sports. I've been your host, Zach Circleberg Merkel, here with the coast today, Aaron and Joe. Go and say bye, guys.
Bye.
Alright, please make sure to comment down below if you disagree with any of our opinions. Comment down below if you agree with any of our opinions, because that always feels great. And then make sure to also put your own predictions down below as well. And like and subscribe if you made it this far into the video. But other than that, deuces, and have a good day.